And now, the way the mystery religions, as they call it, of revelation, was spread throughout the world in this way right here, from the Tower of Babel. And the Lord said, if they have begun to do this as one people, speaking the same language, then nothing they devise will be beyond them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so that they will not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them from there over the face of all the earth, and they stopped building the city. Now, after this is how this mystery religion got spread from Babylon throughout the world. And this is why Nimrod has so many names, because he confused their language. So when they say Nimrod in another country, it sounds like Baal. It might sound like Dionysus. It's called Babel. His name in Babel. I don't know if you heard of that new language program called Babel. I get commercials. I hear commercials for it every once in a while. I find it interesting that they named their company Babel, and it's a language learning app or program. So there you have it, His name is just in Babel, wherever you go. Egypt, Nimrod in Babel is Osiris. Tammuz in Babel is Horus. Semiramis in Babel, Isis. You see how simple it is? Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva would be the Hindu trinity. It goes on and on. I recommend reading The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop, which was originally a pamphlet in 1858, I believe, if not before, and then turned into a book later on and was added to over the years. And looks like people sourced other information and showed it, like sourced other historians to match up to what Hislop actually said in his book. And Hislop actually left a lot of sources also. I recommend reading the book by David Carrico, the Masonic Egyptian Satanic Connection, I believe it's called.
The Arcana of Freemasonry by Albert Churchward. Now, page 9 and 10 in the Arcana of Freemasonry, they have the Oath of Nimrod. Apprentice degree for the first, apprentice degree first, okay? It says, I, so-and-so, do in the presence of El Shaddai and of this worshipful assembly of Freemasons, rough masons, wallers, slaters, pavers, plasterers, and bricklayers, promise and declare that I will not at any time hereafter, by any act or circumstance whatsoever, directly or indirectly, write, print, cut, mark, or publish, discover, reveal, or make known any part or parts of the trade, secrets, privileges, or counsels of the worshipful fraternity or fellowship of Freemasonry, which I may have known at any time, or at any time hereafter shall be known unto me. The penalty for breaking this great oath shall be the loss of my life, that I shall be branded with the mark of a traitor and slain according to the ancient customs by being throttled, that my body shall be buried in the rough sands of the sea, a cable's length from the shore, where the tide regularly ebbs and flows twice in the 24 hours, so that my soul shall have no rest by night or by day. It says, candidate signs they'll be given under my hand and sealed with my lips this day of 1913. So help me El Shaddai, the holy constance of this book. How satanic. We all know Nimrod was the first to disrespect God and start this Antichrist religion, or the New World Order, as we call it today. The Porch and the Middle Chamber, The Book of the Lodge by Albert Pike. page 333. Like they did in the book The Master Mason, they're going to link Harem Abith to Osiris. And we already know that Harem and Osiris are Nimrod or Tammuz. Now it says here, the all-seeing eye is a symbol of the deity, as it anciently was in Egypt, a hieroglyphic of Osiris and the sun, connecting the legend of Harem with that of Osiris. Okay, and then it says the sun, moon, comet, and 7 stars indicate the astronomical symbolism of the legend, and again connecting it with that of Osiris. The sun is Osiris, aka Nimrod. The moon is Isis, aka Semiramis. Okay? Astrology comes from Nimrod. Now pay attention to that fact.
A History of Phallic Worship by Richard Payne Knight, published by Dorset Press, 1992. Among the Egyptians, as before observed, the cow was a symbol of Venus, the goddess of love and passive generative power of nature. On the capitals of one of the temples of Feli, Egypt, we still find the heads of this goddess represented of a mixed form, the horns and ears of the cow being joined to the beautiful features of a woman in the prime of life, such as the Greeks attributed to that Venus whom they worshipped as the mother of the prolific god of love, Cupid, who was the personification of animal desire or concupiscence, as Orphic love, the father of gods and men, was of universal attraction. The Greeks, who represented the mother under the form of a beautiful woman, naturally represented the son under the form of a beautiful boy. But a people who represented the mother under the form of a cow would as naturally represent the son under the form of a calf. Now, seeing what we just read, we see here in Acts 7:40. And Acts 7 is about when Moses saved his people from Egypt, and then they were in the desert while he went to Mount Sinai. So this is where I'm going to pick up off in Acts 7:40. They said to Aaron, "Make us gods who will go before us. As for this Moses, who led us out of Egypt, we do not know him. What has happened to him?" And in Acts 7:41, that was the time they made an idol in the form of a calf. They brought the sacrifices to it and revealed in what their own hands had made. Now we know Isis is the cow and Horus is the calf. And we know Horus is nothing more than Osiris reincarnated, as they believe. So we see they went to Horus worship out in the desert. Now Acts 7:42, but God turned away from them and gave them over to the worship of the sun, moon, and stars. This agrees with what is written in the book of prophets. Did you bring me sacrifices and offerings for 40 years in the wilderness, people of Israel? Now we see here, we know, sun gods Osiris or Horus. You know, the moon is Isis, as they believe. We know the stars correspond with this astrology also. This one translates different. Stars of heaven. Again, astrology, right? And then we have host of heaven. Host of heaven, right? Same thing, it's all about astrology. They're looking up into the sky. Stars of heaven. Now this one's going to make even more sense. You have taken up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Rephan, the idols you made to worship. Therefore, Therefore I will send you into exile beyond Babylon. Rephan, sometimes it translated to Remphan, and Moloch as Malak, which means nothing more than king. Alexander Hislop, the two Babylons, or the papal worship, proved to be the worship of Nimrod and his wife. 1916. This was originally, I believe, a pamphlet in the 1850s, and then turned into much more over the years. I want you to note the 6-point star. I can show you, like I showed in other videos, where we see Thoth depicted with the 6-point star and the all-seeing eye. He proves where it comes from in this book. But chapter 4, section 2, justifications by works. You scroll down, start reading it there, and you eventually end up to this part. And in the red part, it says the real character of the God whom the papacy has set up for the worship of his deluded devotees. Sorry, Catholic Church. There is nothing in the least strange about it. That God is Moloch, the god of barbarity and blood. Moloch signifies king, and Nimrod was the first after the flood that violated the patriarchal system and set up as king over his fellows. At first he was worshipped as the revealer of goodness and truth, but by his worship was made to correspond with his dark and forbidding countenance and complexion,